Yeah, I don't think Mother knew about this.
Uncle Marvin was strangled by his own beard.
Yep, never saw it coming. And welcome, Genies, to America's Family History Show, Extreme Genes and ExtremeGenes.com. It is Fisher here, your radio root sleuth on the program where we shake your family tree and watch the nuts fall out. And this segment is brought to you by LegacyTree.com. And speaking of which, we've got an incredible guest on this week from Legacy Tree. She's one of the new DNA experts with the company. She is Candace Camillo, and she recently had an interesting case she had to deal with as a DNA expert. And that is simply to help identify the grandparent of one of her clients. So she went about that task and had some success with that. But then, as often happens, a little surprise came along. And you're going to want to hear what that is. And you're going to want to hear from the client involved herself and her brother, because it involves all of them. So it's going to be a great segment starting in about 8 minutes or so. It's another one of those DNA cases that's changing lives. And of course, at the back end of the show, Tom Perry, our preservation authority, is going to be talking about some of those last-minute Christmas ideas that you might want to consider and some things you might want to consider for the coming year that you can start over the holidays. Good stuff later on with Tom Perry. Hey, if you haven't signed up for our weekly Genie newsletter yet, it is absolutely free. We got some great articles in there. We've also got some links to past shows and great interviews you're going to want to catch up on, and some of the latest headlines, too. Stories of discovery and family history and things that are happening within the field. And if you haven't signed up for our Patrons Club yet, we would love to have you there. It's a great way to support the show and get some bonus features, too, including early access to podcasts, bonus podcasts a couple of times a month, and our YouTube Ask Us Anything segment with David Allen Lambert, the chief genealogist of the New England Historic Genealogical Society. And by the way, the cost of this thing, less than the cost of a book of stamps. Sign up now at ExtremeGenes.com. Just click on the Patron Club or go to Patreon.com/ExtremeGenes. It's really easy to do, and we sure appreciate your support. Well, David Allen Lambert is off this week, and on the line with me right now is Gary Boyd Roberts. He is the Senior Research Scholar Emeritus at the New England Historic Genealogical Society. And you've stirred up a lot of interest here, Gary, about the relationship between Prince Harry and his American actress fiancée, Meghan Markle. Tell us what you found.
Well, the father is half Pennsylvania Dutch and half New England Yankee, largely New Hampshire and the area north of Boston. There is a royal descent from a Reverend William Skipper, a descendant of Edward I and III. There is a connection to 8 presidents, to 3 and possibly more first ladies. I think 4 have been found so far, actually. The bulk of the New England ancestry has been traced. There is a descent from the husband of a Salem witchcraft victim. The royal descent is of particular interest because she descends from a first cousin of Margaret Curtiston. Also descended from the grandparents of Margaret Curtiston are Kate Middleton and Diana and the Queen Mother and Meghan. So all of the women that have married into the royal family are connected in these ways, and then slightly more distantly to all the royal families of Europe. This is typical and rather great fun, but millions of Americans have such ancestry. I rather think that millions of Britishers and Europeans do as well.
So what you're telling me basically is that Meghan Markle has a lot of royal ancestry that she shares with Princess Diana, I'm assuming. And how far back do they go, and what's the relationship then between Harry and Meghan?
Well, they're 17th cousins in one way. They're 16th cousins once removed in another.
It doesn't sound like they're very closely related, or at least in terms of what can be proven at this point.
Well, these distant kinships can be proved. And I think there was a website that told us much about the immediate ancestry. We were able to confirm that with record sources. Then we hit the books, and the ancestry was pretty easily traceable. I would say that virtually any American with colonial ancestry is likely to have such a kinship to the royal family. This isn't unusual, but it's fun, and that's the whole point, and it somewhat reinforces Anglo-American kinship, to some extent British-American diplomatic relations or relations generally. We've had an enormous amount of confirming kinship. Winston Churchill's mother, Harold Macmillan's mother, were Americans. Diana was 1/8 American, 1/64th New England Yankee. This is another one of those links.
Gary, thanks so much. Gary Boyd Roberts, he is one of the world's foremost experts on relations between royals and the presidents of the United States. Look forward to talking to you again, Gary. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
You know, it's kind of a big deal, obviously, anytime a British prince marries an American. There are a lot of people over there who are wondering if she's going to have to go through the same citizenship challenges that they went through, right? First of all, there are a lot of requirements that come into play when this kind of thing happens. One is that the couple has to be married within 6 months of getting engaged, and Harry and Meghan are doing that. And the British person in the partnership has to be making at least $25,000 a year. I think Harry's okay with that. And then they have to live for 5 years continuously in Great Britain. And so we'll see how that goes, right? And then there's a life in the UK test, an English language test. The Home Office has not yet commented on this. In fact, they say, we do not comment on individual cases. And by the way, speaking of family histoire news, this is kind of interesting. There's an historian named Dale Brumfield, and he thinks there might be treasure hidden in the monument to Robert E. Lee in Richmond, Virginia. He's done some research on this. He thinks it's worth looking into. He says it's in the cornerstone. It's a copper box. It was installed 130 years ago, 1887. And supposedly there's like 60 different things inside there, including an authentic picture of President Lincoln lying in his coffin that they think could be worth a lot of money. So he says you don't have to destroy the monument to get to the cornerstone, so he's hoping that some officials are going to allow him to do that. So there you go. That's your family histoire news. David will be back again next week. And coming up next, we're going to talk to Candace Camillo. She's a researcher with LegacyTree.com. And what an interesting DNA case she just wrapped up. We'll talk to her and her clients on the way in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
Did you know that Family Search Family Tree is available through a powerful new mobile app experience? That's right. Now you can view, edit, and even add information to ancestors in your family tree whenever and wherever you are. You no longer need to wait to get home or make a date with your computer to view or update your family tree. You can add details to your tree when visiting with family or when capturing details from a trip to the cemetery. You can share new family history discoveries from classroom settings. You can even make the most of your time when waiting for doctor appointments or car repairs. Get started today by downloading the free Family Search Family Tree app to your Apple or Android device. Visit familysearch.org/tree app to get the Family Tree app for free. Exploring and expanding your family tree has never been more convenient. Visit familysearch.org/tree app to download the Family Search Family Tree mobile app today.
Hi, Genies. It's Scott Fisher, host of Extreme Genes, with an invitation for you to join our brand spanking new Extreme Genes Patrons Club. Now, the Extreme Genes Patrons Club is where, for as little as $1 a month, Genies everywhere can take advantage of Extreme Genes rewards, such as early access to our latest podcasts, members-only bonus podcasts, acknowledgement on extremegenes.com, and special monthly live online question and answer sessions with well-known family history experts. Catch visits with genealogy stars such as David Allen Lambert, photo detective Maureen Taylor, DNA expert C.C. Moore, and many other experts and storytellers. If you find yourself craving more stories, more ideas for digging up your dead, more inspiration, the Extreme Genes Patrons Club is for you. The rewards start at just $1 a month. Find out more now. Just go to extremegenes.com and click on our special Extreme Genes Patrons Club link at the top right, or go to patreon.com/extremegenes.
Extreme Genes is sponsored in part by 23andme.com, a personalized genetic service that helps you understand what your 23 pairs of chromosomes, your DNA, say about you. 23andme.com gives you a snapshot view of your DNA with more than 60 detailed reports on your health, traits, and ancestry, plus tools to explore and compare your DNA with family and friends. 23andme.com is the first and only genetic service available directly to you that includes reports that meet FDA standards. Here's how it works. Order your DNA kit from 23andme.com. Provide your saliva sample from home and mail it back to a CLIA-certified lab. Then you'll be notified when your reports are ready online. You'll also receive ongoing reports as new genetic discoveries are made and as 23andme.com is able to clear new reports through the FDA. See why more than 1 million people are experiencing their genetics with 23andme.com. Order your DNA kit today at 23andme.com.
It's time to talk a little DNA on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show, and extremegenes.com. It is Fisher here, your radio root sleuth, and this segment is brought to you by FamilySearch.org. And you know, anybody who's ever gotten into DNA knows that once in a while you look for one thing, maybe you find it, maybe you don't, and then sometimes you run into something completely unexpected. And that has been the case for my next guest, Candace Camillo. She's a genetic specialist with LegacyTree.com, one of our sponsors. And Candace, this sounded like a straightforward case to me. Explain what happened.
Yeah, so the client hired Legacy Tree genealogists to identify the client's unknown paternal grandfather. That would be her father's father. And we really thought it would be pretty cut and dry because her mother is from Korea and her father is of European descent. And
so that's great. So it's really easy to separate.
Exactly, yeah. So the maternal and the paternal matches. So we took a look at her closest matches, and there was one match that stood out from the rest that shared about 1,450 centimorgans of DNA. So that could represent 3 different relationships: an uncle, a half-sibling, or a nephew. This genetic match also had Asia East listed as a primary ethnic region. And in order for that to be the case in a full uncle, the client's unknown grandfather and known grandmother would have had to have had a second child, both from European descent that somehow had a second child with Asian ancestry.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a reach there, I'm thinking.
Yes. So we looked at the other 2 options, either a half-sibling to the client or a full nephew to the client. Her family did live in Korea for some time, and so for a half-sibling to be this genetic match, it would mean that her father could have had another child with another woman of Eastern Asian ethnicity.
Right.
That's unknown to the client. So that's a possibility. The other possibility, the full nephew, would require that the client's only sibling, who's a brother, had a child who tested at Ancestry DNA. So this could have been that the client was aware of this nephew, but just didn't know that her nephew had tested.
Wow. So this is one of those delicate moments for you as a professional genetic specialist, right? To reach out and say,
absolutely.
Hey, and how do you do that, by the way, Candace?
Very carefully worded email. Before we reached out to the client, I needed to dig around a little bit more about this genetic match, specifically find his age, preferably his birthplace, and his mother's ethnicity.
Right.
Wanted to try to get an idea of that.
So did you reach out to him first then, to this match?
No. What we had for him was a username, and we also had a family tree associated with his account, but it only had private names. The tree, though, did have a title that was a name, but it was also a common name.
I see.
Common first name, common last name. So I did what every good genealogist does when they're stuck, and I Googled his username.
Yes.
And
that's right. Google the username.
And I found that this username was associated with an online video that had gone viral and also a Facebook account. And the name on that Facebook account was the same as the title of the family tree. So I was pretty confident that I had the right individual at this point. I reviewed his public Facebook profile and used public record searches, and I found that he was in his 20s, appeared to have some Asian ethnicity, and appeared to be named after his mother's father and carrying his mother's surname. So he did not have the surname of the family.
So you kind of had an idea what you were dealing with at that point.
Yes, exactly. I was pretty confident that we were dealing with a nephew, and because of it appearing that he was raised by a single mom, I suspected that possibly that this genetic match, this nephew, was unknown to the client.
So you knew that the client had a brother, right?
Yes, we did know that she had a brother.
Okay. And so this was going to be the question of whether or not she was aware of this child.
Right, yes. And if he was aware.
Yeah, there's that too. So what happened?
So we sent that very carefully worded email to the client and tried to be very sensitive of the possibility that this was a surprise. And we actually heard back right away that he was, in fact, an unknown nephew, and that they wanted his contact information right away to get in touch with him.
And so this was an unknown nephew to your client, but it was a son, right, to the brother?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Wow. And
yes.
how did he take that news?
I don't know the particulars of it, but I do know that he recognized the nephew's surname and instantly recalled that connection to the nephew's mother. They were very excited to get in contact with the nephew, which is always a relief.
Oh, well, yes, absolutely. You know, though, and I've said this many times on the show, most of these DNA situations and most of these surprises usually result in a happy ending. I mean, I realize there's some where if it's the result of an affair in a long-running relationship, that's often a different situation. But when there are people who find out that they fathered a child when they were very young, it's often a great thing. And most of them are pretty anxious to embrace that and meet their child.
Yes, that's been my experience too.
And so when you run into a circumstance like this, for other people who may be not as professional as you are, but still have some idea of what they're doing with DNA, they go out to help somebody and they come across a surprise like this, what would you recommend to them?
Good question. I do think it's something that needs to be approached very delicately. And I think that when someone is contacting genetics matches through a testing database, oftentimes it's best to ask common names of grandparents and start out a little bit more distant so that they get comfortable with that idea of
contact.
Yes, and that they share recent ancestry, but maybe not quite as recent. This is my own personal preference. This is how I like to approach it. And I'm sure that there are many different ways, but then letting the science guide is really what I like to see.
Sure. Well, now, how many times have you run into something like this?
This was definitely the closest that I have encountered while researching a full nephew. This is definitely the closest.
And how did the nephew take this news?
You know, interestingly, he has a public Facebook profile that I mentioned earlier, and I've looked at it a time or two, and he seemed to have taken it very well. I'm very excited about it, and it appears from his Facebook profile that he didn't know which Asian country his family originated from. He only knew that he was partially Asian, and so it's very excited for him to learn about his family history and to learn those traditions. It sounded like he'll be learning those traditions that his aunt and his dad can now give him.
Unbelievable. Now, he probably thought about this for a long time, right? Because of the difference of ethnicity between himself and his mother.
Yeah, if he was aware, he did not know who his father was. And he mentioned on his Facebook profile that his mom offered to help him look, but that they weren't able to find him.
And so that's one of the reasons he took the test?
It sounded like he took the test for ethnicity reasons, and again, this is all from his public Facebook profile. I haven't talked to him.
Isn't that what most people do, too? You know, they go out and they say, oh, we're going to find out our ethnicity. This is how a friend of mine found both her birth father's identity and birth mother's, even though they're both deceased, because she wanted to find out her ethnicity, having been adopted, but it resulted in the full meal deal. She got everybody, you know, both sides of the family, her family tree, her heritage, her DNA heritage. That's pretty good, and I don't think that's too unusual.
Right, yes. I think that was definitely the case in his situation as well, where he was looking for his ethnicity and did not expect to find his father through the testing. But because his aunt now was looking for her paternal grandfather, she was able to find him.
Wow.
Very special.
So how often have you run into that where you've looked for one thing and found something else?
I think it always happens to some extent. If you dig far enough on everyone's family tree and genetic matches, there will be unexpected results. It just depends, I guess, on if a client finds what they're looking for before they keep digging.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm working with a friend right now to identify his birth father, and it turned out both of his parents were first cousins to one another.
Oh, wow.
And it turns out the birth father may also have come from an unexpected line. So we have two what we would call non-paternal events in a row.
Yes.
And so it's a little complicated, but we've got a half an aunt in there and all these different lines. So it's getting interesting. We've almost put the lid on this whole thing, but we're just waiting for one more DNA test result to come in, and I think we've locked it all down, and that's the fun part.
Yeah, it makes for some fun math.
So what's the story with reunions and all that?
So for what I understand, they met, I believe it was 2 weekends ago. They were able to meet, and they were so kind to send us pictures. So I got to see the pictures of the reunion. And again, I took a look at the nephew's Facebook profile and got to see his perspective there as well. Very useful that he's in his 20s and posts a lot on Facebook.
Well, that's absolutely true. And I think a lot of old-time researchers might not think about some of the things you've mentioned, Googling a username and trying to associate that with a Facebook page and see what you can see there and other family members. I've been collecting photographs of distant relatives off of that as a result of exactly the same thing. It's a great method to go, and it opens up a lot of doors, and really it's pretty simple.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm excited because we have your client ready on the line to talk to here in just a few moments. And as you mentioned, she's pretty excited about it. The brother's pretty excited about it, to learn he had a son that he never knew anything about, and to get their perspective on this entire experience. I think a lot of people, they go do DNA tests, or they hear about people doing DNA tests, and they wonder how they'll react. Well, we're going to find out firsthand from these folks coming up here in just a few moments. So, Candace, great to chat with you. Thanks so much for sharing the scientific side with this, and keep us up to speed on some of your other cases as they happen. It's always so much fun to hear about.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
That's Candace Camillo. She's a genetic specialist with LegacyTree.com. We're going to talk to that client coming up next in 5 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
Scientific studies have proven that youth who know even a little bit about their family history perform better academically and have a greater sense of personal confidence and stability. Genealogy is its own incredible superpower that arms our children with super strength. But how do you get your child or grandchild interested in studying their family history? That kind of stuff is just for grandmas, right? Not anymore. ZapTheGrandmaGap.com leaps the generation gap in a single bound. Author Janet Havorka provides you with useful and timely advice on helping the young people in your life become engaged in their own family history. Janet has an entire collection of books to inspire the young and the young at heart in fun, interactive ways. She also offers creative tips and advice on her blog and in her free weekly newsletter. Stop by ZapTheGrandmaGap.com today to sign up for Janet's free email newsletter with 52 weeks of easy tips, free downloads, and order your set of resource books and workbooks. Looking for an easy way to show off your family history and share it with your family? Family Chart Masters offers beautiful custom pedigree art pieces and inexpensive family reunion draft charts in any design or size that fits your needs. With a free consultation at FamilyChartMasters.com, you can get started creating a new family masterpiece. Family Chart Masters has over 11 years of experience in creating and printing family charts. They can print any style of genealogy chart from any genealogy file and can create exactly what you're looking for. You'll work with a specialized and talented consultant whose goal is to make you happy. Decorative charts make fantastic gifts for all occasions. And with Family Chart Masters' option of ordering duplicate charts at half price along with your original purchase at full price, you can afford to give a family heirloom to each member of your family. Contact Family Chart Masters today at FamilyChartMasters.com for your free consultation. Family Chart Masters will give the greatest care to your family history.
And and welcome back to America's Family History Show. It's Extreme Genes and ExtremeGenes.com. It is Fisher at this end, your radio root sleuth. And this segment is brought to you by 23andMe.com DNA. And we've just been talking to Candace Camillo. She is one of the genetic specialists over at LegacyTree.com, talking about a unique case recently with a client who reached out, say, hey, look, we want to do some DNA analysis here. And I happen to have that client on the phone with us right now. She is Kelli. She's in Virginia. How are you, Kelli? Welcome to Extreme Genes.
I'm great. Thank you very much.
So tell us about this experience, at least from the beginning. What was your intent on doing the DNA test and then having Candace do a little analysis? What were you looking for?
The story starts actually with my dad, who was born in 1929, and he never knew who his real dad was. My grandmother, his mother, and sisters all kind of kept the secret. And my dad grew up never knowing who his real dad was. He had a stepdad that raised him for a little bit. And my mother is from Korea, so we kind of all know that portion of our background because my mother's side of the family is kind of an open book for us. And as I was a child and as I grew up, I've always had this fascination with British, Celtic, kind of Irish history, and I never knew where that desire came from.
Sure.
So a few years back, I actually did a DNA test, and it came back with kind of what we knew, kind of Eastern Europe. My grandmother's side of the family was from Prussia, a little bit of Western Europe, and then about straight down the middle, about 47% East Asian, which we knew was my mother's side.
Okay.
So I just kind of sat on that for a little bit, and then about 7 months ago, I told my husband, I said, I know there's some Celtic or British or something in there somewhere. I'm going to do another test. And lo and behold, it came back in December, and it did come back about 20% British. So I was jumping up and down, all excited. I knew. But then it also had me connected to somebody that they thought possibly was a first cousin, and it gave me the person's name. I didn't know if it was a male or a female. And I tried contacting the person saying, hey, we're looking for information now for my grandfather because all of this now kicked off. That person could be a link to who our actual grandfather was. So I tried contacting them, but I never got any response back. So then it just piqued my interest. And so I contacted Legacy Tree and said, I want to find out who my grandfather was. So I gave them all the information I had, gave them all the links, everything, gave them everything I knew about the background on my father's side and my grandmother's side of the family. And after a few weeks, they came back, and they had recognized this contact that was recognized as a first cousin. And they sent me a long email that basically said, your DNA markers are basically off the chart. I think we had like 1,600 markers that matched.
Right, and that means you could be one of several different types of relationships depending on the age of your match, right?
Exactly, which is what they kind of broke it down for. And they said, based on that, we do not think he is a first cousin. We think you're more closely related than that. So they said, we think he's either a half-sibling, an uncle, or a nephew. And they said, based upon his age, we've ruled out uncle. Based upon what we know about your background and history, we've ruled out half-sibling. We believe he's a nephew. Then in the next paragraph, they talked about the last name Stephen, so that possibly could be a link to who my grandfather was.
Okay.
So I got this email, and I immediately forwarded it to my brother, because in this whole process, I kind of kept him in the loop, because whatever comes back for me is pretty much going to be the same for him. Of course. And he immediately called me that night and said, what the heck does this mean? And I said, I don't know. And we're going back and forth, and we said, gosh, did our dad, like, go on a business trip and have an affair? And now this person has had a child who, I mean, we were going through all the scenarios in our head, and then I stopped, and I said, wait a second. Could you have had a son? And they gave me the information for who this person was. Said he was 28 years old, from Nebraska.
Right.
And that his first name was David. And so I asked Howard, I said, could you have had a son? And he said, no. And I said, all right, let's backtrack here. If he's 28, 29 years ago, where were you? And Howard said, 29 years ago, I was in the Marine Corps, California. I was dating a woman named Michelle Roberts. And I said, okay. And he said, but this kid's name is David Stevens, not David Roberts. And I said, no. Hold on, let me go back and look at the email because you're mixing up names here. And I went back to the email and I said, his name is David Roberts. And then there was complete silence on the phone.
Oh, and we have Howard on the phone right now. Howard, tell us about that moment.
Yeah, so I had worked late that day, and part of the reason why I kind of conflated the names was that when she sent the email to me, I was reading it in my car on my phone while I was in the parking lot getting ready to leave, and so I didn't have my glasses on, and I skimmed it really quickly, something about a nephew. His name was David, 28, and the last name Stevens, which I conflated with his name, so I didn't think much of it. And like Kelly had said, I was certain it had to be my dad had another child and they had a child, because I was aware of who I was involved with at the time in my life, and so I kind of doubted it at first. It didn't seem normal to me because I envisioned that anyone I had been involved with would have told me something like that.
You would think and hope, right?
Yes, exactly. So I just followed logic and just kind of disregarded it until we had the conversation on the phone later. And I happened to be doing some grocery shopping on the way home, and I was in the cheese department. I will never forget this. I was in the cheese department when Kelly said, "His name is not David Stevens, it's David Roberts." And there was a lightning strike at that moment.
Did you drop your cheese?
I don't know physically what I did, but I remember a sound kind of escaped my throat. And I know some people kind of looked at me in the cheese department because I was not making a sound that was typical of somebody that was shopping.
Wow.
In any case, it was at that moment when I knew without a shadow of a doubt he was my son.
And so you've had contact with him since, yes?
Oh, yes. My wife and I have flown out to visit him and his wife. He lives in Missouri now. He's an Air Force vet and currently works at Whiteman Air Force Base as a civilian now. Married, just closed on a home, fantastic young guy. I mean, I could spend hours talking about the experience. It was a phenomenal one.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
And how's his reaction to this?
Oh, well, the way he was raised, he's a very level-headed guy, calm, cool, collected thinker. And he comes from a very strong family. You know, they're very loving, they're very caring, very tight. And so he had a great upbringing. And maybe out of deference to his mother, never really pursued the interest in who his biological father was. He was more or less curious about his ethnic makeup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that often is the way.
Yes, because as Kelly has mentioned, we're half Korean, and David, being at least a quarter Korean or somewhere nearabouts, was raised in Nebraska and looks more Korean than I do.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so he was very curious about his ethnic background, and he had done a DNA test just out of curiosity to kind of figure out what his ethnic makeup was. Wasn't seeking his father, and unfortunately the DNA test told him that he was 21% East Asian, which was kind of obvious if you looked in the mirror.
Sure, of course, yes.
Yes.
He could have saved the money, right?
Right. He was looking for something more specific. In any case, he got the results back and didn't think much of it and then let it go.
Well, he got very specific information. He knows exactly where in Korea, and he knows you.
Yes, but at the time he didn't know and didn't pursue any further interest in it other than his DNA test had been done and the results were now searchable. They were now able to make connections, and that's what Kelly's legacy tree researchers did. They made that connection and found him. And I like to phrase it like this. We went looking for a paternal grandfather and found a son.
Congratulations, Howard. It's a boy.
All grown up, married, and has a home, ready to go.
It doesn't get any simpler than that. There you go.
Yes, exactly.
Well, thank you guys both for sharing your story.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What a different time we live in. Neither side was looking for either side, and it just happened. And coming up next, we're going to talk about preservation with Tom Perry from tmcplace.com, our preservation authority, in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes. Well, Genies, my personal family history researcher who sends me new information day and night has sent me some incredible new records and newspaper stories lately. Hi, it's Fisher, and the name of that researcher, by the way, is myheritage.com. It's the hardest working service in genealogy, looking for records of your family 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yes, even while you're sleeping. How does it work? MyHeritage uses hundreds of algorithms to match your ancestors to over 5 billion records from around the world. world, and with 97% accuracy. That means no more wasting time figuring out whether or not a match really is a match. I hear from listeners all the time who are shocked with how much information is accurately found and then passed along. And now MyHeritage will translate your ancestors' names into English or any other language you like from foreign records. In fact, it works with over 40 languages. No one else does this. Whether you're a beginner or seasoned researcher, you need myheritage.com.
Extreme Genes is sponsored in part by 23andme.com, a personalized genetic service that helps you understand what your 23 pairs of chromosomes, your DNA, say about you. 23andme.com gives you a snapshot view of your DNA with more than 60 detailed reports on your health, traits, and ancestry, plus tools to explore and compare your DNA with family and friends. 23andme.com is the first and only genetic service available directly to you that includes reports that meet FDA standards. Here's how it works. Order your DNA kit from 23andme.com. Provide your saliva sample from home and mail it back to a CLIA-certified lab. Then you'll be notified when your reports are ready online. You'll also receive ongoing reports as new genetic discoveries are made and as 23andme.com is able to clear new reports through the FDA. See why more than 1 million people are experiencing their genetics with 23andme.com. Order your DNA kit today at 23andme.com.
Legacy Tree Genealogists is a proud sponsor of Extreme Genes. Based in Salt Lake City, Utah, near the world's largest family history library, we've been working with genealogists all over the globe since 2004 to track down records, find your ancestors, and the stories that bring your legacy to life. We also analyze DNA test results, help you join lineage societies, and find missing cousins or heirs to property. Legacy Tree is the recommended research partner of MyHeritage.com and is the world's highest client-rated genealogy firm. Call us toll-free at 1-800-818-1476. Call now or register online to get a free estimate. Learn from our free genealogy tips on our blog at legacytree.com/blog. Even experienced researchers can benefit from our proven and experienced staff of specialists who can bring new approaches to old problems. Legacy Tree Genealogists. We do the research. You enjoy the discoveries. legacytree.com.
And welcome back. It's time to talk preservation with Tom Perry from TMCplace.com, your preservation authority on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show, and ExtremeGenes.com. Fisher here, and this segment is brought to you by MyHeritage.com. How are you, Tom? Good to see you. Merry Christmas.
I'm great. Yeah, I can't believe it's just right around the corner.
Yeah, here it comes. And it's getting a little late now. A little long in the tooth for somebody to think they're going to get things digitized with so little time left.
That is so true. If you've got some simple things like maybe some VHS tapes or videotape tapes or mini DVs, you can probably get your local service to still take care of you. And we still have some spots open if you want to send it to us. Most of big box stores, since they send it out, there's no way you can work with them now.
Yeah, forget that.
So, there's still a lot of good things you can do out there. If you're not knowing what to get for the family historian in your family or somebody that you want to get into family history, there's a lot of different things to do. You need to remember, we talked about several shows ago, the recording device called the Olympus DS2, which is an incredible device for recording families. You have one, you use it.
Oh, yeah. I've done some of my best interviews for Extreme Genes on it, and it's really clean. It's like broadcast quality.
And it's very inexpensive, too. It's a great way to go, and you really need to get one of these for your sit-down dinners, for your reunions, for your family parties, whatever you're doing. Just get one, keep it in your pocket, set it on a table, whatever, and just record whatever's going on because it's so easy to edit audio.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like $50 or less. In fact, I've seen used ones on eBay for $25, $30.
And you don't always need new. These are built so well, and they're such a good quality. Buying a used one is no liability at all. It's a great way to go. It will make you memories that will last forever. It's one of the best gifts you can give.
And we've got 19 people in our house over Christmas. So I'm thinking of doing an interview with each one of them, including the little kids.
Especially the little kids, because then 5-10 years down the road, you'll go back and listen to them, and they're just so funny. The kids will love them. You can put together all kinds of neat collages with your slideshows and your videos with these kind of things mixed into it. Just makes everything so personal. And if you got a big place, like you're renting a synagogue or a church for a big party, get a couple of them. And there's probably even some places in large cities where you can rent them if you don't want to go to the expense of buying one. Put a couple around, just leave them running. There's such a huge hard drive in it. You can get hours and hours and hours on it and get some really fun, cool stuff.
And then at the beginning of the year, of course, you can go out and start to process some of this material and make some either late holiday gifts or get ready for next year.
Exactly. And these will be great gifts to give people next year saying, hey, we did this at the holidays last year. Here's what we've done. And they're easy to edit yourself. If it's above your pay grade and you don't want to do it yourself, we're happy to help you. There's a lot of people out there that are audio editors because audio is pretty simple to do. And it's fun when you mix them with different formats. And these are things that will last a lifetime.
And, of course, there's a lot of do-it-yourselves on YouTube that can help you out.
There's some videos on there that are incredible. They'll take you step by step by step of how to do it. If you want to get it and put it in different kind of formats so you can show it on your smartphones or your tablets, get a really good program like Wondershare that we talk about all the time, where you can go in and make it compatible for anything, or your videotapes, you can mix them with those, put them on a DVA in the cloud, where your other family can collaborate with you and do all kinds of fun stuff.
Or create a YouTube channel for yourself and your family.
Oh, there's a lot of families doing that, and that's a fun way because then everybody can have access to it, have a lot of fun. They can download it, get a shot box. You can get the full-blown shot box for under $200. The lesser ones for about $160, and they're great for getting your laptop in there and shooting YouTube videos, just all kinds of good things. Tell your family that when you're having your big dinner or your get-together, bring all your old photos and have your shot box there and just shoot them all or rent a scanner and scan them all, and you'll have just great gifts to give to the people as soon as the party's over.
Exactly. Very nice. All right, Tom, when we come back in 3 minutes, what do you want to talk about?
We're going to talk about some other last-minute gifts you can get for yourself or give to others.
All right, coming up in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
Looking for an easy way to show off your family history and share it with your family? Family Chart Masters offers beautiful custom pedigree art pieces and inexpensive family reunion draft charts in any design or size that fits your needs. With a free consultation at FamilyChartMasters.com, you can get started creating a new family masterpiece. Family Chart Masters has over 11 years of experience in creating and printing family charts. They can print any style genealogy chart from any genealogy file and can create exactly what you're looking for. You'll work with a specialized and talented consultant whose goal is to make you happy. Decorative charts make fantastic gifts for all occasions. And with Family Chart Masters' option of ordering duplicate charts at half price along with your original purchase at full price, you can afford to give a family heirloom to each member of your family. Contact Family Chart Masters today at FamilyChartMasters.com for your free consultation. Family Chart Masters will give the greatest care to your family history.
When was the last time you heard your grandmother's voice or saw your family enjoying life back in the 1950s or 60s? If the reason is you haven't known what to do with your old recordings, videos, and films, here's your answer. The Multimedia Center in Salt Lake City.
We brought in a video project to the Multimedia Center, and overnight they duplicated it to DVD so we could meet our deadline.
The Multimedia Center, 2870 East, 3300 South, Salt Lake City. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. Call 801-483-1717 or go to transferduplication.com.
Genie's, it's Fisher with exciting news. The Weekly Genie, the official newsletter of Extreme Genes, is here. It's your Monday morning briefing on what's happening in the world of genealogy and family history and on Extreme Genes. Get all the details of jaw-dropping stories of discovery and keep up with the latest techniques in family history research. Get to know more about your favorite Extreme Genes personalities, and it's free. Sign up for the Weekly Genie now at extremegenes.com or the Extreme Genes Facebook page. And when you do, you'll receive David Allen Lambert's top 10 tips for beginning genealogists from the chief genealogist of the New England Historic Genealogical Society. Sign up today for the Weekly Genie. We are back for our final segment of Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show, and ExtremeGenes.com. Boy, it's been a fun show today. Lots of ground covered here. It's Fish talking to Tom Perry from TMCPlace.com, our preservation authority. And Tom, we're talking about last-minute gifts. I mean, it's really down to it at this point. But as you prepare for next year and you use materials that you may record over the holidays this year, you can really get ahead.
Absolutely. Get all your Christmas done by February.
Yeah, perfect. I love the sound of that. And for the family historian, that's a doable thing.
It really is. And we talked a lot about audio in the segment before. Another thing you might want to look at if you want to shoot a lot of video and all you have is like a tablet or a smartphone and you don't have the greatest hands in the world. Several months ago, we talked about a thing called the Beast Grip, just like it sounds, BEAST-GRIP. Go to their website, and they have the coolest thing you can mount your tablet or your phone in, and you carry it around like a regular camera. Your fingers aren't going to be in the way. It's nice and steady. It is just so much fun to flip it on video mode or photo mode and just walk around and take live pictures. And like you said, when you're doing interviews, sometimes people don't like talking heads where it's just somebody yapping, talking about something.
Right.
So you've got the audio, but then you're taking other pictures of things that are going on. So those pictures can be shown while the audio is going on. Like if you watch a good quality news channel, you won't see a talking head the whole time. They'll be talking. Then they cut to photos or videos of other things to make it move along better. And so the Beast Grip is a great way to go. Once you get all these photos, one of the best gifts you can give to yourself or somebody else is Heritage Collector software, because it will take all these things that you're working on and organize them, make them fun, make calendars for next year, for birthdays.
And it's easy to handle, too. That's what I like about it. I mean, I'm not the greatest in the world with tech stuff, better than some, worse than others, but I'm very comfortable with it.
It is so fun and it's so easy to use. In fact, they do free webinars, so you can get all kinds of live information. You can talk to Marlo, get tips and tricks, and you can expand as fast or slow as you want. And they're really great at holding your hand and getting you through. There's DNA tests all on sale right now. We were talking earlier, who's your daddy?
Yeah.
And these are great. You get into this DNA stuff, and it's awesome. I have an adopted son, and we did DNA for him and found all kinds of things that we didn't know, he didn't know, and it makes it so fun to find these relatives. You might find out some of your friends are related to you. I just love the DNA testing. You can do make-it-yourself gift cards. You don't have to go and buy some generic thing at the store. Make a gift card for somebody that's got all these slides they've been wanting to transfer and say, hey, Dad, here's a gift card for $100 or $50, whatever. Go and make your slideshows. Go and do your VHS transfers. Go and get your photo scan. We've talked about so many things you can put together. Last-minute things we'll have on our website. And if you want to get something really done really quick, you've got a little teeny window. You need to move now.
Absolutely. And the question is, though, is it going to get done right with so little time and people like yourself all around the country being so jammed and swamped with work? That would concern me a little bit. In fact, I would wait.
Yeah, that's fine. If you have something, you don't need wait. But the guys that have been around a long time, they know how to plan for Christmas. We plan stuff out far enough. So we say, hey, this is our last day for Christmas. But then people still drop it off and we put, try for a ho-ho, which means, hey, we can't guarantee, but we'll try to get it in. And every year we've had a little bit of extra time. We've been able to do that. But we want to be careful. So if a piece of equipment goes down, we can still get everything that we've guaranteed. So there's still a possibility. But the big box stores, stay away from them now. Stay away from them forever. Work with your local people.
All right. Great advice, Tom. Thanks so much. Happy holidays, and we'll see you again next week.
My pleasure.
Hey, that's a wrap for this week. Thanks so much to our guests, Candace and Kelli and Howard, for coming on and talking about the DNA discovery that Kelli made on behalf of her brother, finding out that he had a son he knew nothing about from 29 years ago. Unbelievable. If you missed any of it, of course, catch the podcast. You can get the podcast early as one of the benefits of being a member of our Patrons Club. Just go to extremegenes.com, click on the Patrons Club link, or go to patreon.com/extremegenes. Hey, and you can also sign up for our weekly Genie newsletter, absolutely free, at extremegenes.com. Talk to you next week. Thanks for joining us. And remember, as far as everyone knows, we're a nice, normal family.